our SEC Power Rankings. Our SEC Power Rankings after week 4 of 2025 are out, and they are controversial. It is starting to get easier and easier to separate teams based on how they're playing in the moment, as we are about to wrap up September with one more week's worth of games in this month. Our SEC Power Rankings will be divided up into 4 downs, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. 4 downs. Again, Dave's off. He is, again, just a previous commitment, but I'm still going to do the Cooper Mays voice to have a little bit of fun. So Cooper Mays here. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Coop. All right. 4 downs, SEC Power Rankings. 4 tiers. The tiers are in trouble tier, still have things to prove tier, have a loss, but looking elite tier, and riding high. Ride. That is, for those who don't know, an 8-Ball and MJG song after they sold out and got signed to Bad Boy Records. Anyways, let's get rolling. SEC Power Rankings, 4 downs. Coop here, first down. The in trouble tier. Number 16 in the Power Rankings, Florida. They are so in trouble. They lost 26-7 to Miami. This offense is absolutely atrocious. DJ Lagway, we thought was overrated coming into the season. We all talked about that on this show, and it's really showing on a week-to-week basis. He's just a bad quarterback. Carson Beck didn't even have to do anything because Miami torched him on the ground too. So Florida has no run defense. They have a bad quarterback. They're 1-3. They legit could go 1-11 this year. I think Florida is obviously the worst team in the SEC right now, given the way they're playing. Number 15, South Carolina. They looked better in a loss. I will give them that. They put up a fight against Missouri on the road. Missouri, as a matter of fact, had to score 11 points in the final quarter to win this game, believe it or not. South Carolina did lead 20-18 after 3 quarters, but Missouri scored a touchdown and a field goal in the 4th to make it a 2-score game and take control. But I mean, guys, I know Lenore Sellers threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, had his best game of the year by far, but his mobility was clearly gone. I mean, he was sacked a lot, had negative 28 rushing yards, and Lenore Sellers' dual threat abilities are what make him great, and he did not have that on display in this game, and that's a real concern for South Carolina going forward. So that injury, I think, is an issue. So I'm having South Carolina at number 15 right now. Number 14, Kentucky. They had an off week, had a much-needed one. The reason I have them above South Carolina is Kentucky did look better against Eastern Michigan, having done their switch at quarterback play, and they didn't have to lose. So at number 14, Kentucky, but they are still an ugly-looking football team right now at 2-1, and they still got a lot to prove. So they're number 14. And number 13, the final team for the in trouble tier is Arkansas. Now, Arkansas should be 4-0. They should be 4-0, but they absolutely should at least be 3-1. How you fumble in that situation at Memphis last weekend when you're down 31 or down 32-31 and just take 3 knees and run out the clock almost and get it, and you win the game off a field goal. That was crazy. That is the worst, most brutal loss I think I've ever witnessed. Arkansas has a really bad habit of losing games that all they have to do is run out the clock and then they fumble the ball somehow. You know, dating back to Tennessee, 1998, they're number 13, but I do think Arkansas is better than the other ones. They've just been severely unlucky. All right. Cooper Mays here. Second down. Thanks, Coop. Still have things to prove. This is the group of teams that are good football teams, but they haven't proven what they need to prove yet, even if they're starting to look better in certain situations. Okay, so we start with 2 schools that are undefeated that haven't exactly proved. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. Scratch that. We're going to go with this way. We're going to start with, we'll stick with this. 2 schools that are undefeated, but I still think have more to prove. Mississippi State is number 12. Now, part of that is because Mississippi State didn't look great against Northern Illinois over the weekend. Not looking great against Northern Illinois was enough for us to move them down to number 12. They're still in a good shape, in good shape overall, but they still have things to prove. So with that, I have them at number 12, although the Arizona State win does look better and better. Missouri's number 11. Missouri looked a lot better last week, but given what they did on Saturday, winning just 29-20, they're kind of playing a little bit of ugly football right now, and so I had to drop them to number 11. They still have some things to prove, even though they have a Power 5 win. Ole Miss is number 10. Ole Miss blew out Tulane. The Arkansas win doesn't look as impressive given the fact that Memphis beat Arkansas at the same time. That is a Power 5 win, and Lane Kiffin does have a good offense once again. So Ole Miss is number 10, but I can't have them that much higher right now. Now, this is going to be controversial for a lot of people, but I got Texas at number 9. I know they have a loss. They looked ugly 2 weeks ago with Arch, but they did blow out. And I mean, they absolutely blew out Sam Houston 55-0 over the weekend. I get it with Sam Houston. I get it. I understand that. But I do think they're picking up offensively a little bit. And that close loss to Ohio State, you got to give them credit for playing that game tough. So I have Texas at number 9 right now. Guys, if Texas and Ole Miss played on a neutral field, you would favor Texas. Stop lying. At number 8, I got Alabama. They had a bye this past week, but after their loss to Florida State, they were looking really, really, really good. And I know Wisconsin is a very questionable team, but they're still a Power 5 team that's better than any team Texas has beaten. So I got Alabama number 8, and I've got LSU number 7. Now, LSU, their win over Clemson doesn't look that impressive anymore, which we're going to get to. And they were looking ugly the next 2 weeks, but they kind of got righted the ship a little bit this past week against Southeastern Louisiana. They won 56-10. Garrett Nussmeier balled out. Sometimes you need a tune-up game against a bad team to ball out, and Garrett Nussmeier was able to do that just like Arch Manning was. That could get them going. So I got them in the same tier. And then at number 5, LSU's number 6, because Alabama was number 7. Did I get that right, guys? I think I had Mississippi State at 12, Missouri at 11, Ole Miss at 10, Texas at 9, Alabama 8, LSU 7, LSU number 7. LSU's number 7. And then number 6, I got Vanderbilt. I can't believe I'm saying Vanderbilt all the way up at number 6, but Vanderbilt is blowing out teams. They blew out Georgia State, and I had Georgia State covering because that was always old school. Vandy might start undefeated in September, but a Georgia State game was always the type of game where they blew it in the end. They didn't do it this time, though. Kudos to Vanderbilt for maintaining their dominance and absolutely balling, dropping 70 points. This school might be the real deal. So that's my tier. These tiers are undefeated programs like Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Vanderbilt, where you question how good they are. And then powerhouse programs that all have a loss, but you still think they're going to be okay long-term. Texas, Alabama, and LSU. They're all in a pot together. Now, Tennessee Center Cooper Mays here. Third down. Third down is this: elite teams with a tough loss that may look better because of their loss. And that's where I have I have Tennessee at number 5. Tennessee's at number 5 on this list. Tennessee lost to Georgia in a close one, but they blew out a Syracuse team that's looking better by the week. And then they just blew out UAB at home. They're looking better. They are in good shape. And I have Auburn at number 4. Now, question why I have Auburn ahead of Tennessee. Well, Auburn was on the road for their tough loss. Tennessee was at home, and Auburn got cheated, and Tennessee didn't. Okay, it's just that simple. Auburn got cheated. Tennessee didn't. Auburn should be undefeated. They should be in the top tier, and they're not because of just the loss factor, but it was really a coin flip. I could have put Auburn in that top tier. Tennessee lost a very, very close one to Georgia, but it was a fair and square close loss, and it was at home. So I have Tennessee number 5 and Auburn number 4 because there's a clear delineation between those two schools and the top 3, even if they're in the same tier caliber. You'd rather be the top 3. The top 3, our top tier of SEC teams right now in our SEC Power Rankings. Coming up first, 4 Downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
All SEC Center Cooper Mays here. 4th down. All right, 4th down is this top tier. Number 3, Oklahoma. I have them at number 3 because they could very easily be at number 4 because they got away with some shenanigans to beat Auburn, but they still won, and they're undefeated, and they've beaten Auburn and Michigan now. So I got Oklahoma number 3. Number 2, Texas A&M. Again, they could have a loss right now, but they got away with some shenanigans to beat Notre Dame, and those shenanigans are enough to warrant them being number 2 because they are still undefeated. And when you're undefeated like this, you are happy. So Texas A&M number 2, and number 1, to nobody's surprise, is Georgia. Georgia, the only undefeated team with a win as good as their win at Tennessee, and also who who didn't get away with some shenanigans to win their game. So Georgia deserves to be number 1. I think that is as clear as day. Georgia is absolutely elite, and that is not a surprise to anybody when you take all of this into account. So Georgia is number 1.